Your first speaker to start off the second half is Bridget Cummings, class of 2015. She's worked at the Obama Foundation as an operations analyst since January 2017. Prior to this, she served as a policy advisor at the Obama White House in the Office of Intergovernmental Affairs. Bridget studied political science and economics at the College of St. Benedict and enjoyed participating in the College Democrats Club, intercollegiate golf. Everybody likes something, right? Student Senate, and the Eugene J. McCarthy Center for Public Policy and Civic Engagement. She graduated from St. Ben's in 2015. Please help me in welcoming Bridget Cummings, everybody.
Thank you, Joey. I've worked for President Obama and Mrs. Obama for almost 4 years now. And if you would have told me that when I was in high school or college, I would not have believed you. I'll take it back 5 years ago. In the winter of 2013, two very unsurprising things happened. First, Bridget Cummings, a 20-year-old Bennie from Chaska, the one and only person to vote for a Democratic senator in her high school government class mock election, and a poli-sci and econ major, applied to be a White House intern with the Obama administration. Not too surprising. The second unsurprising thing that winter was that Bridget Cummings was rejected from a White House internship. I honestly was not shocked. But about a year later, I was studying in Elkland Library for finals, and I got an email from the White House Office of Legislative Affairs. Tears were like welling up when I got the email. I had reapplied and had an interview the next day. And St. Ben, St. John's professors and friends helped me prepare, and somehow, 4 months later, I found myself, if we go back one more slide, I found myself outside of the White House in a black suit the day after Memorial Day in DC, sweating. And my mom can attest, I look kind of cool, calm, and collected in that photo, but I was freaking out on the inside. And so I walked into an auditorium with 149 other White House interns, and after probably only 2 conversations, I decided I'm the only non-Ivy League, student here. And so we had briefings throughout the day, and I found out I would be in the Office of Legislative Affairs with 4 other interns. And so the Office of Legislative Affairs is the office in the White House that liaises with members of Congress. So when they need something from the White House, or when the White House needed something from the House or Senate, they would come through our office. And specifically, I was on the House team, so I worked with members of the House of Representatives. And on the next slide, you'll see a few of those members that I met. On the left, we're at the Working Family Summit. And on the right, that's with Leader Pelosi in the West Wing. It was a hot day in D.C. And the next 2 slides are a few exciting moments. So the next one is when a few of us were walking from the West Wing to the East Wing where our office was, and we ran into President Obama. We were really lucky that Pete Souza, the photographer, had been taking pictures right when we ran into him. As you can tell, I'm like super professional and calm. And in the next slide, we met Mrs. Obama. We had a Q&A with her. I asked her about women in the workforce. It was super special. And we took a picture with her. And then the last slide, our very own Dennis McDonough, Chief of Staff to President Obama, met with Bennies and Johnnies in his office. And then on the bottom, I played basketball in the First Family's court, and my team won, which was great. And then on top, I returned to my desk one day to find the First Family's dog sitting in my chair. So those are really exciting moments, but actually when I reflect on the summer, it was kind of rough when I think about the political environment in DC. There was a lot of really kind of hyper-partisan issues coming up, like the Affordable Care Act and how should we implement it. Immigration and DACA were huge issues that summer. I remember I was counting votes for my team when the House of Representatives sued the president over implementation of the Affordable Care Act, which was the first time in history that had happened. there was some, like wildfires on the West Coast, Ebola outbreak. And because we were the office that worked with the Hill, we were kind of consumed by it, and we had to know what everyone thought about it and study it. And on the next slide, this one back, we were, our last couple days at the White House, we were with President Obama taking a photo. And I'm in the middle. I tried to blend in my hot pink blazer. And he walked into the room, and right away I could tell, he looked so exhausted. I could see the gray, popping out of his hair, and it looked like something was like weighing him down. And he took a few questions from us, and it was kind of like brought me back to those gloomy issues that I had dealt with in legislative affairs. People were asking questions like, have you ever seen so much partisanship in DC? What's the future of our political system and these parties? And when he was answering, it almost weighed him down even more. And as they were closing, he started to turn away to leave, and something stopped him. He said to us, and I'll never forget, he said, "You are growing up in the best America this country has ever seen." And he said, there's more equity and justice. We know more about climate change than we ever had before. The economy is better than ever. And then he said something I'll never forget. He said, I'm so hopeful looking up at all of you interns. You remember my picture that I showed you before, dying outside of the White House, so nervous. This is one of my last days at the White House, introducing my family to President Obama. This was after 2 years serving in the Office of Intergovernmental Affairs. And, his outlook on future generations and his hopefulness, despite all that's so wrong in the world and what he knows is wrong in the world, is what made me want to go back. Now I'm so lucky to work at the Obama Foundation, where our mission is to inspire and empower young people to change their world. So this is a photo of me and my team. It's been almost 4 years since that day in the White House when President Obama told us about his outlook on the world and how hopeful he is for future generations. And I think there's so much that we can be down about when we turn on the news, and I think that I think back on what President Obama said to us. He said, "I'm so hopeful looking up at all of you," and that's what gets me through all the gridlock and partisanship today. Thank you.